Hi, this is Mrs. Murdock, and we are going to go over the difference in how an insulin hormone and a testosterone hormone interact with their target cells at the molecular cellular level. So first of all, let's remind ourselves, what kind of a molecule is insulin? Can you guys tell me? What do you think? From the four categories that you just used today, which type? Protein, carb, lipid? It's a protein. Very good. It's a protein, yeah. So insulin is a protein hormone. So does that mean that it likes water or doesn't like water? It's hydrophilic, as most everything is. Most molecules that encounter cell membranes are going to be hydrophilic. So what does that mean? Like if I draw a little circle and I'm going to tell you, this is insulin. This is the insulin hormone. What's it going to do when it comes up against the cell membrane, which is made up of a bunch of phospholipids? Is it just going to be able to go through? No. As most things that are hydrophilic can't go through the cell membrane, the only way that you can get things like food molecules like glucose, which are also hydrophilic, or proteins, or nutrients like magnesium or calcium, all the nutrients we need, they all need some sort of a channel or connector receptor in order to interact with the cell membrane. So target cells for insulin, which are very, very plentiful in the body, there aren't very many cells that don't need insulin to tell them to let glucose in, have membrane-bound receptors. We're going to just draw a membrane-bound receptor with sort of a site that would accept the shape of insulin. And we're going to say this is a membrane receptor that's just for insulin. So if insulin is in the bloodstream, it's going to attach, and that represents the reception step, right? And we know that there are 3 steps in signal transduction. This is the first one. And very often reception, it will change the cytoplasmic shape of the receptor and then get a signal going. And sometimes there are other things that have to happen that are also part of reception, depending on what type of hormone you've got. But the next step is going to be transduction, just like we learned, right? So transduction for protein hormones, transduction often involves lots of other molecules kind of going through a cascade that sometimes will amplify the signal, is very often involved with kinases that are passing phosphates from one molecule to the other. It's kind of like passing the baton in a relay race, right? So transduction is the second step of cell signaling. And then finally, reception. Reception activates a final molecule that does something for insulin that's very specific. The response is what I meant. Response, not reception. Response is the final step for any signaling transduction system. Okay, so the response for insulin is that you have vesicles that are in most living cells that are already created, that the cell has already made ready. And this is a vesicle that contains glucose channels. So there are little channels in here, right, that are in there. And what happens is the response influences these vesicles to go over to the cell membrane and place those channels in the membrane. So it's kind of like putting doorways for glucose into the cell membrane, right? The response places glucose channels into the cell membrane. Right there. Okay. So what's the good of that? What does that do for the cell? Well, it turns out that every cell in the body, if you didn't know this, maybe if you took anatomy, maybe you do know this, has these blood vessels going right past them that are called capillaries, right? And in the capillaries, you have these big red blood cells going through there. And if you've just eaten a bunch of donuts, you might also have a bunch of glucose molecules floating around in there, right? Those glucose molecules that you just were categorizing that are not as big as red blood cells, but we're pretending, okay? So let's say you just ate a bunch of sugar, and now your blood is full of that sugar. So the insulin has triggered this body cell. Maybe it's a muscle cell, maybe it's a liver cell, could be any kind of cell. And now the insulin has made sure, right, that there are doorways in the cell for that glucose to get in. The glucose can now go into the cell. It's in there, right? Cell transport, there's another unit, okay? And what's going to happen to that glucose next? What happens to it next? It's, well, sort of. I mean, there's a couple things that could happen to it. It could be made into glycogen, right? It could be stored. If you're in the liver, and if the liver doesn't need to use it for energy, it might store it into glycogen. That is one thing that could happen. Another thing that could happen to glucose is from our cell energy unit. How might the cell digest it? Glycolysis. You got it. Beautiful. So this could go into the glycolysis process. Remember that? Glycolysis means literally to, sugar to break. There you go. And that goes into the cell energy unit. And this cell could then use glucose to make ATP. And it might even go as far as going into the mitochondria and making a lot of ATP from it, right? Okay. So there. 3 units right there. Cell signaling, cell transport, and cell energy, respiration. Okay, all connected. Now let's go over here to testosterone, which is a different hormone, right? So testosterone is not made of protein. What's it made of? It's in the lipid group, yes. And specifically, it's called a steroid hormone. Called a steroid hormone. And would it like water or not? No, this is a hydrophobic molecule. Phobic. Okay, now remember that this membrane is made of phospholipids, and phospholipids are also hydrophobic. So if this is our testosterone, I'll just make that my shape for my testosterone, is it going to be repelled by the cell membrane, or is it going to be invited in? Invited in. It goes right through, yes. Lipid-soluble hormones, or anything that is lipid-soluble, goes straight into our cells. And most of the molecules that are floating around in our bloodstream are not lipid-like. Most of them are either carbs or proteins or minerals or things that are water-soluble. But testosterone is not. It still has a reception step, though. I will still write that down. It still has a reception step. It's just that its receptor is a cytoplasmic receptor. So when testosterone binds to the receptor, that's still reception. We still have reception. But this is a cytoplasmic receptor protein. Move this up a little bit. Okay, all right. So we've got the reception step. With lipid hormones, you don't necessarily have much of a transduction step. The activated receptor now becomes a transcription factor. It becomes a transcription factor. And the testosterone hormone stays connected to it while it goes into the nucleus. So this is the nucleus. And it's going to float right in there because it can go through this membrane as easily as it went through the outer membrane. And remember, in the nucleus we have eukaryotic DNA. a little bit of DNA here. Right. Right there. And let's say that this part of the DNA right here is the promoter. So now, once again, we're in another unit, right? We're in the gene expression unit now. So this cytoplasmic receptor with its connected testosterone hormone becomes a transcription factor here. I'm not drawing that very well, but there it is. It connects and wakes up this gene, right? Allows RNA polymerase to come along, and there's a gene here downstream from the promoter that's now going to be activated and transcribed into a piece of messenger RNA. Right? Messenger RNA is now made. And this is going to then travel out of the nucleus to find, just like we learned freshman year too, to find a ribosome, right? To find a ribosome and connect itself to the ribosome and go through the translation step. The translation step, which creates a new protein. A new protein that the cell didn't have before. This is protein synthesis, which is very often the response. So you had reception. Transduction, if it exists, is just this complex traveling to get to the promoter region on the DNA in the nucleus. And then this is the response. The response is the production of a new protein. And this protein, it just depends on what kind of cell this is in. Testosterone is a hormone that has many different target cells that might respond differently to the testosterone based on the needs of the cell. So it's a hormone that promotes the secondary sexual characteristics in boys during puberty, for one example. So if this were a follicle cell in the regions where boys grow hair, it might stimulate the growth of keratin, right, from those cells, which is what hair is made of, a protein called keratin. Or if it's in the boys' muscle cells, it might stimulate the production of actin and myosin proteins, which builds muscle mass in boys. That's usually more than in girls. So it just depends on the target cell what the testosterone will trigger as a response. So those are the two different types of pathways with these two different hormones. Protein hormone like insulin has this sort of pathway where it needs a membrane receptor to then receive the signal and start things going. And testosterone is a lipid hormone whose reception happens inside the cytoplasm with the cytoplasmic receptor. And most steroid hormones result in protein synthesis. Most of them behave like transcription factors. The protein hormones, it varies from hormone to hormone. There's a lot more hormones that are made of protein than are made of steroids. And protein hormones have lots of different types of pathways and lots of different types of responses. But those are the basics, and that also hopefully helps you tie together some of the different units that you can think about with this sort of thing. So there's insulin and testosterone pathways, and I hope that was helpful.